Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
It's amazing.
And that's remarkable.
Alex, I'm going to start this week's episode by doing something I don't think I've ever done, but honestly, over the 7 years, I probably have done this before. I'm going to start by playing a clip from our own podcast.
All right, does that kick it back to me? Okay.
Yeah.
Bobby Wagner, true or false? Freddie Freeman etches his name into Dodgers history with a storybook hit. I don't necessarily know the fashion in which it comes. Maybe I'm not. I'm already sort of backing. I'm already backing myself into a rock and a hard place here.
Yeah.
That's for the real heads.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe he has a night off, rest the ankle.
He's had
5
nights off.
Comes up in a big
But this
pinch
is the
hit.
5 nights at Freddy's that everyone's been talking about, right?
Nice.
Thank you. I'm here all week. Actually, I'm not, because I don't have a voice.
And it clinches a really an emotional series for him. On the field, off the field, he gets his moment. He gets his Kirk Gibson fist pump rounding the bases. And Dodger legend forever. What say you?
So just so I have this clear, the true or false here is that Freddie Freeman, while hobbled, has a walk-off World Series winning hit.
Yes.
Or just like a game-winning hit.
Yeah. Or I look.
This is an accountability moment for me, because clearly you can hear there. Clearly, I was kind of making fun of you for that being the thing that you predicted. That Freddie Freeman has a walk-off, seemingly unlikely thing for someone who was very injured. And even still, if he wasn't injured, it's sort of hard to predict that any one player might have a walk-off hit in the World Series. Even harder to predict that walk-off hit would be the first walk-off grand slam in World Series history. So I'd just like to give you an opportunity. Is there anything else you'd like to predict or let our listeners know is definitely going to happen since you've seen into the future?
Right. Kamala is going to win in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
I'm seeing what I can speak into existence.
Even without my vote, which I punched in for Joe Biden early, a week ago, when the polls opened?
You wrote in Alex Rodriguez. Honestly, I just gave myself an idea. Anyway.
For mayor of New York City. Right?
For mayor of New York City, yes.
Here's a question.
It's an open race.
When did we get to vote on that? I never got to vote for mayor. I don't think.
Oh, because were you not living here at the time of that election?
I don't think so. No.
Got it. Yeah, that was 2022. So yeah, things are going to start kicking into gear over the next few months.
Seems like they already should have kicked, There's a lot of open spots to fill.
Well, yes, that's for sure.
You did it. You good job. You did it. You predicted that Freddie Freeman would have his Kirk Gibson moment. Little did you know you were so right.
Little did I know. And look, hey, it was right there, right? Like the narrative was I feel like right there for anyone to grab.
Why didn't anyone else say it?
Exactly. I just happened to be the one to grab it.
You take your easy wins.
Yeah.
Take your walks.
You still got to hit the ball.
He gets on base. That's you with your predictions. Take the easy ones.
So yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm taking the rest of the month off.
That's news to me.
4 days. I won't even miss an episode.
That's what they don't tell you about taking vacation when you're an adult, is that it's kind of like you take a vacation when you don't have any other work to finish. And if you do take a vacation, you have to finish all of the work in advance or the week after you come back. So it's really not a vacation. It's more like a reshuffling.
Right, exactly. You're just giving yourself more days in the week, right?
Right. It's like, well, here's the other video that I was going to play for you. And I was going to make this joke. Oops, accidentally played the wrong saved video that I had on my phone.
My day is 6 a.m. to noon, and I'm not crazy. You're crazy for thinking it takes 24 hours, just like some dude in a cave did 300 years ago. My second day starts at noon and goes till 6 p.m. That's day 2. And then the next day is 6 p.m. to midnight. What I've done now is I have changed and manipulated time. I now get 21 days a week. Stack that up over a month, I'm going to kick your butt. Stack it up over a year, you're toast. Stack it up over 5 years, my entire life is different than it would have been otherwise.
Comes up on my feed every couple months, and I watch it 20 times every single time.
I retweet it every time I possibly can. Every time it makes sense. For listeners who don't know at home, this is like some motivational, I don't know, like life motivation guy, and he's talking, as you can clearly hear there, in a rather deranged manner about the passage of time and what it actually means.
I love how you're like attempting to explain the lore behind this clip.
Yes.
Like, I don't even think I dove any deeper than the insights that he was sharing, right? Because it's not about the messenger. It's about the message.
Well, you know that when A-Rod sees that clip, he's like, fuck, I wish I thought of that.
Yep.
That's good right there. That's good stuff.
He's like, 4-hour days?
That's how I That's how I feel whenever I like travel for work or go on vacation and have to finish a bunch of work beforehand. I'm like stacking it up over 3 days in one day. That's me. Well, 3 pods a day for 2 weeks so that I can take 2 weeks off from doing pods.
It's how I feel flying from basically the east to the west anywhere I am.
You get 3 hours.
I'm just like, oh, I just got a whole other day.
I got something for you. Life hack. Be born on the East Coast. Then at some point in your life, move. This is already moot for you. Unless you want to move to like a totally different hemisphere. But be born on the East Coast. At some point in your life, move to the West Coast and don't come back. That's 3 extra hours in your life right there that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
That I wouldn't have otherwise.
You would not have had those 3 hours. You cheated God.
You stack that up over a week, that's another movie I can watch. You stack that up over a month, that's still probably one movie that I can watch. You stack that up over a year, There Will Be Blood is going to hit.
I'm really glad that you mentioned movies. What was the last movie you watched?
Let's see. Last night we did. Actually, I packed it all in. I'm a little under the weather right now.
Okay.
So
it really grinds my gears that you don't log on Letterboxd. I want to know these things, bro. I want to see them. You don't have to log them. You could just shoot me a text.
I'll shoot you a text.
Voice memo, like like a walk and talk Cinema Joe style. When you finish a movie, I just want you to be like, "Hey, man, just finished. Holes. Really thought it was an excellent performance. John Voight, Mr. Sir. I know he's canceled, but art from the artist. Am I right?"
The original Letterboxd. I watched Cure yesterday, the Kurosawa film.
Okay. All right. Film bro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We did Remember the Titans after that.
Okay. Naturally.
Naturally.
2 equal products.
I think that was it. We started Knives Out because my partner has not seen it.
That's surprising to me. She would like that.
It is surprising. I still don't believe that she hasn't seen it.
Unreliable narrator.
Not that I don't believe women, but
you do believe women. It's just you sometimes don't believe this one woman.
Singular.
And that's fair, Knives Out, good movie. Knives Out 2?
Didn't need it.
It was a tough time for art,
It was a tough time for art.
I'm excited for Knives Out 3. No, I think the pods we were making were good. Bad for movies, good for podcasts.
That's for
the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe listeners don't know this, but the World Series is going on. What do you say we talk about that on this episode? You think that's a good idea?
I think we should. If there are any more predictions we need to get out there, now's the time to do it. This
I have a
segment
prediction.
is sponsored
here you go.
by FanDuel.
Okay. No, it's not. You can't say that. You can't say that. They pay my salary. I have a prediction for you. Aaron Judge is going to strike out a few more times in this series.
Wow.
We're going to talk about games 1 and 2 of the World Series. Rob Manfred gave a press conference this past week as sort of his state of the game, which he does, I guess, right before or right after basically every World Series. Also at the time of the GM meetings. He revealed that MLB's revenue is up. Shocker. He talked a little bit about Tampa Bay and where they plan to play. Spoiler alert, they don't know yet. So we're going to talk a little bit about that press conference. We'll put that at the end of the episode after we talk World Series and give our predictions for the rest of the series. Before we do all of that, I am Bobby Wagner.
I'm Alex Baisley.
And you are listening to Tipping Pitches, the only podcast that predicted the Freddie Freeman Grand Slam. I gotta say, I haven't seen anyone else do it. It's just us. It's just us. Thank you for listening. Okay, here we go. Music. Thank you to this week's new patrons. Tara, potentially Tara. I'm really sorry. It's one or the other. I said it both ways. You reach out, let us know. Deborah and Matthew. A lot of people signing up for the free version of the Patreon, just getting in the community, just sort of like putting down a stake, being like, I might pay for this at some point. I appreciate all of you folks too, but you don't get the shout out until you fork over the cash. Thank you to all the people who also bought our last couple episodes a la carte just to try it out. I hope you liked it. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. We'll never know unless you sign up. Patreon.com/tippingpitches, 3 different tiers. The top one gets you access to our entire back catalog of bonus episodes, and of course, the bonus episodes that we put out in the future every 2 weeks, as well as a bunch of other really good stuff. And different stuff at the lower tiers as well. Every tier gets you access to our Slack, which for my money, to be clear, I'm not paying for it because we created it, but if I were paying for it, it would be the biggest bang for your buck as a place to hang out online and watch the Major League Baseball playoffs, which conveniently happen to be going on right now in the form of the World Series. Alex, between the 2 most premier franchises in Major League Baseball. Shohei Ohtani, injured. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Aaron Judge, bad. Garrett Cole, Juan Soto. The biggest stars in the game, shining bright on the biggest stages. Anthony, who is he?
It's your World Series MVP right there. Remember, we established in the last episode that the World Series MVP does not actually have to go to a player on the winning team.
Correct. Except in that case, we established that it was going to be Teoscar Hernandez, but the Yankees were going to win. Still possible in your mind?
I'm just casting a wide net.
Okay, great. Well, so as Alex is referring, we did World Series true or false. So each of us made predictions, and the other person said true or false on our previous episode. That is the clip that you heard at the top of this show. That was a fun episode. I would say my voice was doing about as well as the Yankees have done through games 1 and 2 so far. And now my voice is doing much better. Looking more like the Dodgers have performed in games 1 and 2. It is 2-0 Dodgers. Game 1, gotta say, I believe that the Yankees let it slip. They had multiple opportunities to extend their lead, to prevent the Dodgers from tying it and putting more pressure on the Yankees bullpen. They did not do that. They made a few errors in the field that allowed the Dodgers to score their first 2 runs via sacrifice fly. Really interesting World Series game where you score 6 runs, your first 2 are sac flies, and the next 4 are via grand slam. Baseball is a really interesting sport in that way. And they stole the Cole game, where the Yankees had a pretty big starting pitcher advantage, even though Jack Flaherty looked good. He's been up and down this season and really this postseason. And really the last 4 seasons. And then game 2, Yamamoto versus Carlos Rodon. Rodon was not good. He has been a somewhat turbulent pitcher throughout this postseason. A couple really good starts, a couple shorter starts where his motion kind of burned hot, but not for very long. And the Dodgers take that one on the back of a big game from Tommy Edman, a homer, a double, Teoscar Hernandez home run, another Freddie Freeman home run, and some bend but don't break bullpen work towards the end of that game. Blake Treinen has made my prediction of Treinen and Kopech not giving up any more runs in October false. However, it did lead to a Dodgers win. So 2-0 Dodgers, they hold home field advantage. My question for you, there's a lot of different ways we can go with this, but my question for you is, are the Yankees cooked?
I mean, if you believe in momentum whatsoever, the tiniest ounce of momentum at all, then yeah, it doesn't look good, right? They have not, to your point, they have had some miscues in the field. Aaron Judge, who is, the taller half of the most dynamic duo in baseball, has not showed up.
Let me just say real quick, before we get to the rest of this episode, I do believe Aaron Judge is the best hitter in baseball. So all of the jokes that I make throughout the course of however long we record for this episode, let's just put that fact out there first. That's the foundation that we're working off of. It's fun to make fun of, but I do believe he is the best hitter in baseball. Sometimes there are statistical aberrations. It seems like those happen to him often in October. That's my take.
It's a good take, but good clarification. He is very good at what he does. I would
just strike out in October.
And we're back. Yeah, I mean, game 1 was a really good baseball game. That is one of the most fun World Series games, or frankly, baseball games, period, that I have watched. Now, obviously, the stakes of it make it feel much more important and really pull you in to every swing of momentum, of success. But if you were a fan of one of the 28 other teams and you were watching this game, I think you probably had a really enjoyable time. It's really funny to think that this series is going to be won and lost on defense and bullpens in a series that features names like Judge, Soto, and Ohtani. But here we are. The Dodgers just grind, man. You can't count them out. And I know that feels just like a sort of talk radio hand wave of their success, but that's a resilient team that was able to grind at bats and take the little wins where you can get, you don't need to swing for the fences. Shohei Ohtani can hit a little double and you'll take the sac fly.
To be clear, it looked like he was sort of swinging for the fences and just missed.
Shoot for the moon. Land among the stars.
Shoot for the moon, land 2 feet down the fence at Dodger Stadium, and hope that there's no fan interference.
What were you seeing over these first couple games? I mean, did you think that it kind of lived up to, obviously, the narrative around the league and among, I think, most normal offline baseball fans is, wow, 2 big storied franchises who haven't met in a few decades. This is going to be one to watch. Do you think it has sort of lived up to the expectations that have been set around it in large part by the league itself?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first 2 games have both been incredible games, but for different reasons. The first game was more of a traditional pitcher's duel with both starters giving length and both looking really strong and keeping the game tight, and then turning it over to the bullpen in a more traditional fashion. I think that game 2 was much more in line with how we've seen recent playoff baseball play out, where it's like, okay, at least on the Yankee side, like, starter doesn't have it, time to turn it over as early as feasible for our bullpen, which is not quite as deep as LA's bullpen. But, and that being said, Yamamoto looked amazing on the Dodgers side and pitched about as well as you could possibly expect him to. I believe he went 6 innings all the way through the order 3 times, 1 run, only 1 hit on the solo home run. I think that, and I joked about this after game 1, which, by the way, I didn't even really get to watch. I, of course, caught up on highlights and stuff, but I was listening to it on the radio. I was on a plane for the first 6 innings of game 1. And then when I landed, I turned on the radio and was just listening to it and trying to follow along. And the thing that really stuck out to me, again, and I joked about this on Twitter, but this is like actually something that I believe is like the difference in the game. It's not like a hot take like Aaron Judge can't do it, but they intentionally walked Juan Soto to get to Aaron Judge with multiple men on. I don't think were the bases loaded for him in game 1. I can't remember, but with multiple men on, and Aaron Judge flew out. And I know that it's not like the whole game wasn't decided at that point, but like 3-run home run, grand slam right there, Yankees win. And then they do the same thing with Mookie Betts to get to Freddie Freeman and Nestor Cortez facing him, which, by the way, I know like many people have said this at this point. It's a crazy decision to put Nestor Cortez into that situation.
It's pretty wild.
Like, I know that there's the reason that he's on the roster is because like you just put all your best pitchers on the roster and you just sort of throw a situation out at this point. But like, I don't know, man. That's a real, like, use your head, like, common sense. This guy hasn't pitched in 5 weeks. You have a lefty in your bullpen who's, like, going to have to get left-handed hitters out in high-leverage situations if you want to win this series, and you're not going to go with him in game 1. Having Cortez, like, might have been a luxury if this game went, like, 11, 12, 13, 14 innings because he's more of a starter and could have given you length in extra innings once the rest of the bullpen has been used up. But, like, my take is use your relievers as they're designed to be used as relievers, and the guys that you send into the bullpen as starters, maybe try to not put them in the most stressful situations as possible straight out of the bullpen because like they are still humans at the end of the day. And what does he do? He throws a middle fastball to Ohtani, gets him to pop out, kind of lucky. And then he throws a middle-in fastball to Freddie Freeman, the only place that his power is still there with his damaged ankle, and he puts it in the stands. So that's what happens. And again, back to the Aaron Judge thing, they intentionally walk Betts before Freeman, and he makes them pay for it. And that's really the difference between game 1. Like the rest of the game was completely neck and neck. And part of that is like, okay, that aligns with our narratives. But part of that is just like sometimes this happens in baseball. You know, sometimes you get the exact scenario. I just watched it happen with the Mets and Dodgers series. The amount of times that the Mets grinded out at bats, got guys on, it came up, bases loaded, 1 out, bases loaded, 2 outs. They didn't get the hit. You know, the Dodgers did. They are playing better. They are better, you know, than the Mets were. They are playing better than the Yankees are. Sure, can they turn it around? Of course. Especially coming home for 3 games, like, especially with everything we've talked about, the usage, the taxation of the Dodgers bullpen, at some point the bottom could totally fall out from that. But what I've seen so far is like, it's not situational hitting in the way that like A-Rod and Jeter and them talk about it all the time, where it's just like, all right, choke up and shorten it the other way because the Dodgers are getting it done via home run. What it is like, they just don't give away any at-bats at all, top to bottom. They grind out every at-bat like you're talking about. They work the count. They put stress on every pitcher, whether it's starter or reliever. They get on base via walk. Everybody in the lineup has home run power for the most part. Like Edman hitting home runs, hitting ninth, Edman hitting home runs, hitting cleanup. It doesn't really matter. And that's incredibly demoralizing to deal with as an opposing pitcher and as opposing pitching staff. You just get no free outs. And the difference between the Dodgers and Yankees, they do it in different ways. The Yankees are a stars and scrubs lineup. There are free outs in the Yankees lineup. In fact, there are several of them, depending on what the construction looks like and depending on the slumps that individual guys look to be in. Like Volpe, no offense, he's a really young guy, but like for a righty on righty matchup, he's basically a free out in comparison to the Dodgers lineup. And Glaber's hitting really well right now. Soto is Soto. He's never been an easy out in his whole career. Stanton is incredibly hot. But that's like 3 out of 9, and that's not really good enough against a lineup that has like 7 out of 9, or at times not 8 out of 9 or 9 out of 9 that are just like tough outs. And the big gap there is that like Judge is the swing point. If he's not Aaron Judge, then like your lineup suddenly looks like scrubs and stars versus stars and scrubs. And that's what I've seen through 2 games. Maybe he hits 4 home runs in the next 3 games, and the Yankees go back to LA up 3-2. You never really know. I don't think they're cooked, but like, they're in a tough spot. And the Dodgers, all the injuries, lack of pitching, Ohtani hurting his shoulder, like that's still a huge unknown. Maybe this was the Death Star we thought it was all along, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're completely right. This lineup was never the question around the Dodgers, right? And the fact that they have essentially the like second team players, right? They're not the Betts or Ohtani's, but the fact that Teoscar and Tommy Edman are showing up, Teoscar Hernandez, that's World Series MVP to you, is huge for them. You know who's been huge for the Yankees is Jazz Chisholm. I just want to say 3 hits so far. Defensive whiz at third base.
Yo, I got to give a shout to Jake Mintz from Cespedes Family Barbecue, because he suggested on their World Series preview episode that the reason the Jazz has looked so bad this October so far is because he's never played baseball in the cold before. He's from the Bahamas and he spent his whole career with the Marlins.
Yeah.
And this is the first time he's had to play serious, meaningful baseball games in the cold. And he was like, maybe they go to Dodger Stadium, and he looks great in games 1 and 2 because it's 75 and sunny. And look what happened. Exactly that.
Yep.
We should stop with all this analytics bullshit and we just be like, is he comfy? Is he happy? Does he like the cold? Does he hate the cold?
Is Mercury in retrograde?
Exactly.
Right now?
It's like maybe more predictive, you know? Has his Saturn returned yet?
Right.
I don't know.
What's his
I'm just saying stuff. Someone said that to me recently. Your Saturn is returned? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't mean this to be dismissive. I'm just not good at remembering what all the different terminology is. I believe in this just as much as I believe in anything.
Which is to say,
it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up.
We'll see.
If it serves me at the moment, sure. I told someone my sun, moon, and rising once, and their response was, woof. They were like, that's tough. I was like, that's me you're talking about.
Right,
like, I'm the other person here. And they were like, you've overcome a lot. It's like, okay, this just turned into like cognitive behavioral therapy all of a sudden.
That's how you wrote your college applications, right? You were like, so this is my sun, moon, and rising, and this is the trials and tribulations I've had to overcome.
What did you write your college application essay about?
I genuinely don't know.
I'm going to dig that up for you.
I was like, well, I'm an A's fan, so we're not starting from a good spot.
You definitely didn't write it about that because that would not have gotten you into New York University, bro.
No, not special.
They would have been
not
like
special whatsoever.
A's? A's?
Oh, I thought you were making a Bay Area joke.
No, I was making a joke about how no one at NYU knows about sports. My coworkers last week were like, "You don't follow football, do you?" And I was like, "No." And they were like, "But I did when I was younger." And they were like, "When did you give it up?" And I was like, "Pretty much the moment I got to college." And everybody was just like, "What?"
They were like, "You mean the CTE is a feature, not a bug?"
If you had been wearing a 49ers hat in our college journalism class, there's a very real possibility that one, I would still be a football fan, and two, that this podcast would be about the NFL. We take the wins where we can get them.
I know, seriously. One invisible string.
Anyway, we were talking about what? Jazz?
It's something like that. Took a class on jazz at NYU.
Did you? Is that where you learned about John Coltrane?
Yeah, I was like, who is this schmuck everyone keeps talking about?
The professor on the first day is like, why? What made you interested in this class? And you're just like, I got to get to the bottom of this John Coltrane thing. Everybody keeps telling me about it.
What is this love and why is it so supreme? The World Series. Right, yes.
I don't think the Yankees are done. They've been close enough to win both games.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to their home ballpark, right? I don't know how much you believe in that, but there's something to be said about playing in front of a stadium of fans who are rooting for you. I think that changes the atmosphere a lot. And I don't know. Shohei couldn't handle the bright lights before, right? That's why he went to play in LA.
He couldn't handle the bright lights before?
Of New York, you know?
Oh, that's why he didn't choose to go there. I think if anything, it had more to do with the cold. Again, back to the Jazz.
Telling me all these baseball players are like, no, but it's too cold for me out there.
I have a question. If you were rich, like Ohtani rich, would you rather live in LA or New York?
Probably Long Island.
No, but MS-13.
Hudson Valley?
MS-13 has overtaken Long Island. You're leaving that part out.
I forgot about that.
Hudson Valley. Guess it's easier to get to the Bronx from Hudson Valley than it is like to Queens. But like, put yourself in like rich guy
I get
brain.
it. I know.
Rich athlete
Yeah, you
brain.
can get your little house in Malibu.
All of the stuff that you like about New York. Walkable city, proximity to community. That's what rich people want to get rid of.
They don't have any interest in engaging with.
Exactly. They said on the broadcast last night, bro, that Ohtani, when he was like 5, sat down and planned out his whole life. Did you hear that?
No.
They said that he sat down and plotted out the age that he would be at the various different life goals that he has. One of them was, winning Koshin. One of them was winning MVP in the MPB. One of them was going to Major League Baseball. One of them was winning his first World Series. And then he said that he would retire at 40 and have 3 World Series rings. He's 30 now, 2 wins away from his first World Series ring. Sat there and I listened to them talk about this. This was Joe Davis and John Smoltz talking about this. And I was like, this is not the only reason that him and I are different, but like, this is a really good example of why I can never be any form of this good at anything. Because the drive to do that, the ability to just like decide what you want and set your goal to it, it's not there, not present for me.
I feel like, isn't this in like the intro to MLB The Show that Ohtani was the cover star on? They have the little intro video. And
it's been like 5 years since I bought a copy of that.
Well,
the game's just the same. If you don't play online, the game's the same every year. It said in there that he predicted when he wanted to find a wife, what year he wanted to get married. I was like, dog, this is bordering on like, this is right on the line between like cool and interesting and like American Psycho level.
Yeah. I mean, did it work? Like, did we go back?
Seems like it did. I don't know. I don't have the exact diary entry.
Okay. If you listening to this have Shohei Ohtani's diary,
Ohtani probably listens.
Keep it to yourself.
Don't dox him.
I don't care.
Do you think Ohtani listens?
Uh-huh.
Does he like music? What does he do?
What does he do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could be a great beat reporter. I would just walk up to guys and be like, so what do you do? Like, if you weren't here, what would you be doing?
Right. Like, where are you off to right now?
Exactly.
What are you doing with the rest of your evening?
Right. What was the last album you played straight through?
I mean, I think it was Rosenthal
Coltrane?
talked to Freddie Freeman before game 2 and was like, so what was the rest of your night last night? Like was it hard to go to sleep or whatever? And he was like, honestly, I went home and had to be on dad duty. The kids did not want to go to bed. I got like 2 hours of sleep last night. There was a lot of screaming. I'm like, God, they're just like us, really.
Now that you put it that way, like being able to perform on 2 hours of sleep, maybe I could be a professional baseball player.
The data points grow.
Pros and cons. So, okay, let's talk about games 3 and 4. Game 3 will be Walker Buehler versus who's pitching for the Yankees?
Clark Schmidt.
And game 4 will be Luis Gil at the beginning for the Yankees. Not sure how much length they're looking to get out of him since he's only pitched, I believe, once since returning this October, since returning from his injury, versus a bullpen game for the Dodgers. Now, the reason that I know that the Dodgers aren't going to sweep is because the baseball gods can't allow the Dodgers to close out the World Series on a fucking bullpen game, dude.
No chance.
Despicable. Kevin Costner is going to call up some of his friends out there in the Field of Dreams. He's going to say, don't let it happen.
Got to get the ball back to Cole, you know?
Yeah, Buehler versus Clark Schmidt is a really interesting pitching matchup. I'm fascinated to see this because Clark Schmidt is kind of like the younger version of Buehler. It's like sort of nasty stuff, you know? They kind of look alike.
Yeah, a little bit.
In the sense that they're sort of bland-looking white dudes who you would walk past the street and not notice that they were professional baseball players.
Clark Schmidt looks like if you let Walker Buehler proof for too long before baking him, you know?
But Buehler has been ravaged by injuries and is not like his fullest self. However, it looked a lot better in the championship series than he had in the previous round and really throughout this whole regular season. And is a guy who I would say thrives off of the competition, thrives off of the negativity. And so pitching on the road in Yankee Stadium, I expect him to sort of have something to prove and be invigorated by that versus like Rodon's first start of the playoffs where he had something to prove and sort of put too much of himself out there early, hit a wall. I don't think that will happen to Buehler. Plus, the other element of the pitching matchups is that even though the Dodgers are going to have a bullpen game in game 2 and have to navigate that, game 2 at Yankee Stadium, game 4 overall. Not really sure why I said it that way, but anyway, nevertheless, he persisted. And the Dodgers will have to navigate that. The other thing is that Dave Roberts has been pressing every button exactly perfect this whole October. I'm sure at some point we will get a baffling decision from him, but it hasn't happened yet. It happened to Boone on the other side. It has not happened to Dave Roberts yet. Every reliever that he has called to, even if they didn't look great, ended up being the right guy. In the Mets series, he effectively preserved his high leverage guys for the exact games that he wanted to use them in. And the low leverage guys were able to keep them in games in ways that were surprising to some. I not only trust him more than I trust Boone with the bullpen management, I trust the guys that he's actually going to more. So it's a fascinating uphill battle for the Yankees as we head into game 3. Metaphorical gun to your head, Alex. Do you think this series comes back to Los Angeles?
I don't think so.
Wow.
I think Dodgers end it out here.
Damn. Should they just start the parade in Brooklyn?
They should.
Just for old time's sake?
I thought you were just saying that so we would be able to see it.
Yeah, I think that's what Mark Walter was thinking. Did you see the John Sterling call that I retweeted from the Tipping Pitches account?
I just heard your description of it to me via text.
Where he recounted... No, this is a different thing.
Oh, no, I didn't. Oh my God. There's so much Sterling content.
I don't think that I can do it justice. I'm just going to play it here for
Okay,
us.
all right.
The pitch to Volpe is outside. I read a book about the Dodgers, the history, and at the end of the book, obviously they're moved. And two of the great newspaper men in New York, Pete Hamill and Jack Newfield, were out having dinner. There's the 1-0 to Volpe. Breaking ball strike. Volpe 9 for 33, no homers, 2 RBI. So at the dinner, Newfield says to Hamill, write down the 3 worst human beings in history, and I'll do the same thing. Here's the 1-1 to Volpe. Lined hard to center field, and it is caught by Edman. That ball was really hit, and it kind of dipped, but Edmonds stayed right with it. Anyway, the upshot is they both wrote the same 3 names in the same order: Hitler, Stalin, and Walter O'Malley.
Great payoff. I at first I was like, wow, he's really dragging this out. But honestly, it hit better that way.
I like how he had said Hitler, Stalin. Sure. We knew you were talking
English
about
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, we knew you were talking about.
Better or worse than him saying Tommy Edmonds?
Put a little English on it.
I called him Stylin' Stalin for a reason.
He was pretty styling early on.
Yeah, he was. He was getting fits.
I guess right towards the end, too.
Yeah.
He was just wearing the same thing for the most part.
Right. Well, it's very cold over there.
Jazz would not do well.
Jazz would not cut it in the
The
USSR
Baseball League. Walter O'Malley. Oh, boy. All right. Anything else on the World Series? I think it's going to go back to LA. I think Yankees game 3, Dodgers game 4, Yankees game 5, Dodgers in 6.
So you think that Schmidt is going to out Bueller the Bueller?
I think it'll be a wash. Bueller can't go more than like 4 1/3. Maybe he will.
Not if my prediction has anything to say about it. This is shove time.
Well, fuck. Now that I remember that you
7
said
scoreless.
so.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. 1-0 Yankees win.
All right, there you go.
Okay. Soto solo shot.
Aaron Judge over.
Bro, Soto, I believe that you shared the opposite take as this, but I'm not afraid to disagree with you here on this podcast. Some people might feel that I am afraid to disagree with you and that we just spend an hour and a half agreeing every week. That's not the case. Soto looks horrible in a Yankees uniform, and it takes away all of his charisma and sauce. I think he looks ridiculous. Ridiculous. All of his fun stuff that he does when he does it in the Yankees uniform, it's sort of like the meme of like the hot guy hitting on the woman at work, and it's like, okay, it's fine. And then it's like the not as attractive looking guy hitting on her, and it's like HR. That's how I feel about Soto in a Yankees uniform. I'm calling HR on him. It's horrible. It's wrong. It's wrong. All the Soto shuffle stuff, all of the loud celebrations, it's anachronistic to what it means to be a Yankee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you should be wearing a quarter zip,
So you're saying he should fall in line and conform?
I'm saying we need to free him. Yeah.
Well, what if we free the franchise? What if he is trying to be the change from within?
Okay. So
right?
you're
he said
saying
if you can't beat him, join him and change the system from the inside.
Right. So what you're saying is like Bernie should run on the Democratic ticket to try to push the party left.
Why do you do this?
Why do I do what? The podcast? Make jokes our listeners will appreciate? Free him. Free Juan.
I don't hate it. Did I say he looks good in a Yankees uniform? That does sound like something I would say.
I think that your observation early on when he was traded before the season started was just like he just stepped right in, sort of hit the ground running, looks natural fit for New York. I would argue there's a more natural fit that he could have in New York, but that's for the offseason. Send me to the pitch, Mr. Cohen.
Yeah.
I'll say stuff like, you don't want to be stuck in the Democratic Party of Major League Baseball.
Right. Well, you want to go to the working class team, right? Do you want to do this?
Do I want to do what?
Which
rank
teams more
all 30
class?
teams by how working class they are? Yeah,
Mhm.
I do. Okay. Number 30, the Yankees. Number
29 through 1.
All the other
just
teams.
All the rest of them. They're all right there. They're all the same.
Precisely. 29-way tie. And the Yankees are the least working class team. That take was written by someone who's never been to Yankee Stadium. Because you walk in there and you're like, this is not working class. This is Bank of America with a field in the middle. Incredible rage.
It feels like I'm walking past NYU Stern, the business school. Just like, all right.
Damn.
Didn't even feel like changing out of your suit.
This is like our fifth NYU joke.
I know.
People are leaving in droves. The Columbia listeners are leaving in droves. Okay. Do you want to talk about Manfred's press conference?
Yeah, he said some words. We usually like when he says words. I think we should talk about those words.
This is from Evan Drollick's article in The Athletic. Rays expected to have stadium situation figured out by Christmas. Rob Manfred has late December in mind as a target for the Tampa Bay Rays to know what stadium they'll call home to open 2025. Always love to have like 3 months where I know what place my team will be playing.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, I think by Christmas they got to have a pretty good plan in place, and there's a lot to that. We can make it work in a minor league park. I think there's some flexibility in terms of what we do with the big league schedule. They're in the damage assessment mode. I would say so, Rob. I would say that is the mode that they're in. Damage assessment mode. Bro, this guy turns out quotes like he clearly knows how to talk, right? Like he clearly knows how to communicate.
Yes.
It's not like his quotes are like or not eloquent or like are inefficient or like nonsensical. They communicate the idea that he wants to communicate, but it's almost as though he's only ever spoken to someone without being able to see their reactions. Because he says stuff. He says stuff where it's just like, read the room, dude.
I feel like he talks like he's using autocomplete. Like, you're right. He is eloquent. Like, so eloquent that his words mostly manage to be devoid of any and all meaning. It's a little bit of the Rubenstein factor, honestly. Where it's just kind of like, you're just sort of saying things. And maybe eventually you'll stop saying them.
So that's part one. Rays don't know where they're going to play yet.
Right.
They're in damage assessment mode. He didn't have the ratings on the game, on World Series Game 1, the international ratings yet. So he didn't want to comment on that. He said he hopes it's a really good number. Here's the other piece that was semi-interesting and also not surprising to us. Here's what he said. I don't have a number that I'm prepared to use right now when asked about MLB's revenue in 2024 compared to 2023. Bro, that I'm prepared to use right now. He's like, I have some numbers, but not
one.
Like,
I do have some numbers.
I haven't massaged it through all of the different PR people yet. It will be impacted by this, certainly will be impacted by this in a good way, referring to the World Series. So he did admit that the league made more money than it did in 2023. That figure was $11.6 billion. Depending on, I guess, how the World Series closes out, it will be somewhere within a few $100 million of the number that they're currently working off of, which is, again, greater than $11.6 billion. Anything of note in there that you want to expound upon here on the pod in the last few minutes?
Well, actually, I'll read a supplementary quote from Manfred. This is from Sportico. When again talking about revenues, he's talking about how the World Series between these marquee franchises would make a big difference. And he said, "Oh yeah, we've had a good year. Our business was strong." Like, oh really? You don't have a number you're prepared to share, but you certainly, that number was flashing in his mind. To your point, revenues are going to be up from where they were last year, which were already up about $1 billion from the year before. There was a report.
Wait, hold on. Is it good when your business makes like increases in revenue about $1 billion every year? Does that keep up with inflation, do you think?
I think no. Well, you haven't thought about the fact that they are buying so much avocado toast and iced coffees.
Is this number sort of like offset for all the real estate costs that they have to buy from like becoming the biggest landlords in every city that MLB teams are located in? Or like,
look, you're thinking too hard about this, Bobby. Okay. He said he's not ready to share a number.
All right.
He will pass the word down from on high when he's ready.
When the line goes up, that's bad?
Yeah, well, because then you have to contend with all sorts of other factors and implications.
Right. Like taxes and stuff? Or wait, do they pay those?
Look, it's tough because then there's more dollars that you have to account for. And frankly, I don't envy that position.
Yeah. It's easier for us where it's just like money come in, money go to landlord. Net zero.
There was also a report that came out in the last couple of days talking about league-wide sponsorships, right? And it was like kind of looking on a team-by-team basis, but and calling it all together. Those sponsorships are up like 20%. They pulled in, I think, like $2 billion this year. Again, concerning. Where does all this money go?
Right. There are so few players that are worth it.
Yeah.
And certainly we can't possibly pay the team employees anything more than $18 to $22 an hour. I got a final quote for you. Unless you want to talk more about revenue, which we don't have like a good number for, and we have the whole offseason to talk about.
No, what you got?
Rob Manfred was asked why a true American tradition is not taking place this year. And Alex, I'm talking about steal a base, steal a taco. Taco Bell has not stepped up to the plate this season. And someone wanted to know why. Rob Manfred had this to say: all things come and go, I guess is the best answer on that one. All things come and go. Honestly, let him cook with that one.
Yeah.
He, just when I thought I was out, Rob pulled me back in. Existential Rob is a sick character in the universe of this podcast.
Book of poetry when. I appreciate that someone asked him about that.
Yeah, the people want to know, dude.
They do.
What the fuck is up with that?
I mean, I think what's up with it is that Taco Bell is just no longer a league sponsor.
Some things are bigger than corporate branding.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
This is America. We still have hot dogs at games, you know?
Well, it is pretty funny when like you have these quirky promotional campaigns that sort of take on a life of their own. Not entirely unlike a certain purple mascot that dominated a certain New York team's season. When it's like, hey, yeah, it's not even about the promotional first pitch anymore, right? We have seized Grimace. We have seized Steal a Base, Steal a Taco into the public domain. And I think that fans should consider doing something similar with this.
Steal a Base, Steal a Taco is only over if you allow it to be.
Exactly.
You could walk right in and
celebrate it every
right
day.
now.
Exactly.
Give me a fucking taco.
You know who would have gotten you that taco, right?
Who? Jazz Chisholm.
Jazz. Mm-hmm.
God damn it.
He stole like 3 bases in game 1.
I'm conflicted about that.
About having to admit that you were wrong about him?
What was I wrong about? All right, 2 good games. Should we put Tommy Edman on the cover of MLB The Show next year?
Maybe. You mean Tommy Edmonds?
Oh, right. Yeah. Is he related to Jim Edmonds or?
I think so. Dude, Smoltz was doing the same thing on the broadcast last night. I'm like,
They
this is unforgivable.
They also call Kiki Hernandez. Kiki. Smoltz does that on the broadcast.
I know.
And Sterling does it too, which is like, okay, that's one thing. He's just trying his best.
Right.
But Smoltz doing on the broadcast, bro, my brother, the man sitting 6 inches to your left is the Dodgers play-by-play guy. He can tell you how to pronounce it.
I'm also just like, this is your job. You show up for a couple weeks every October.
Well, okay. Let's not get carried away here. Don't put this level of scrutiny on my work. You want me reading line by line in all those posts you're making on LinkedIn, bro? Copy editing your LinkedIn posts?
Honestly, would you like to? That'd be really helpful.
I like how in the conception of the show, like the whole thing that you do for work is just post on LinkedIn.
I post on LinkedIn.
That's that
is all I do.
Like your A-Rod's assistant.
I do brand partnerships for LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so deep in his comments.
Bro. How are the engagements doing over there? Like, do you find that when people fled from X the Everything app because it wasn't functioning very well anymore, do you think most of those people landed on LinkedIn?
No, frankly, I think it pulled all the LinkedIn influencers
over to X the Everything app.
X the Everything app.
That hurts. So you got to start cross-posting on what, like Threads? Blue Sky?
We're in a dark space.
Right? What are they called over on Blue Sky? Are they like called like Tweeps or something like that? Or is that a different one that people started trying to say was going to be the thing that replaced Twitter? Fleets? No, that was something that was
Twitter. Different. Yeah.
I don't know. There's one of these alternative ones where they were called something really dumb.
Right.
Do you have a Blue Sky account?
I think so. I don't know. I did what everyone else did around that time, which is like, I'm going to go. Everyone except for you, right? You said, I'm going down with the ship.
Yeah, I wish I would. I wish the ship would have sunk.
You said, I will be here singing Near My God.
No. I was singing Proud to Be an American.
Never change.
All right. World Series. Good series so far. Hope it continues to have barn burner games back and forth. Hope the Dodgers continue to win. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Tipping Pitches. We'll be back when the World Series is over, whenever that is. So if the Dodgers power through and make this a short series, we'll come back after that with the reaction pod. If the Yankees extend it, I believe the eventual Game 7 would be Saturday. So basically right in line with when we usually record on our Sundays. So we'll see. If you'd like to reach out to us, the email is tippingpitchespod@gmail.com. If you'd like to send us a voicemail and have that voicemail played on the episode, the number is 785-422-5881. You can find us on X, the Everything app, at tipping_pitches. You can find Alex on Blue Sky at arodlover, that's LUVR 13 .bluesky.org.
That and official John Fisher, either one of those accounts. I manage both.
I manage unofficial John Fisher. It's where it's a parody account, satire. Please don't delete it. Anything else to leave the people with? Any other predictions? Are there any like companies that are going to go out of business in the next week that we should like sell high on?
You want to do some insider trading here real quick?
Don't joke about that. I actually can do insider trading.
I want to talk about
It's one of the things like SEC does not like jokes, you know? The SEC, they're just like,
no, they don't.
It's not
they read it. They read it back to you and you're like, it does not sound as good when you say it like that. No.
I'll be like cousin Craig in Succession. And he said to you then, do you want to do insider trading? And you said back, sounds like a good idea. Please show me where you weren't doing the insider trading.
Join our Slack.
Oh yeah,
where we can talk about insider trading. That is
the Slack is sort of
international waters.
Right. The Slack is just sort of like, that's insider trading already. We're already talking about business secrets about our business, about the Tipping Pitches business.
Right.
About our eventual IPO, which is definitely coming. We do have plans to merge with a different A-Rod SPAC.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be great.
And we're going to use those returns to buy a quarter stake of the A's from John Fisher. And help get this ballpark built, baby.
Right, that and a soundboard. Priorities 1 and 2. All right, good stuff. Thanks everybody for listening. We will talk to you soon.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Rodriguez. Tipping Pitches.
Tipping Pitches.
This is the one that I love the most.
Tipping Pitches.
So we'll see you next week. See ya!